Uh, Thank you for tuning into the podcast. I'm Ethan Butler, the louder host. As with any podcast, we face some technical difficulties that I could not fix during editing. So, for one, I'm going to sound louder than any of my co hosts, and I blame OBS for that. Don't blame my insanely large ego, please. Um, but I'm working on getting us a logo. I'm working in MS Paint, so um, yeah, we're working on a logo. The name for the podcast is the School's Out Podcast. We figured that out 2 minutes before recording, as all podcast names should be figured out. And yeah, it means a lot to those who are listening. It means a lot to me. This has been a dream of mine to have a podcast, even for my 6 viewers. Um, but it would mean a lot if you shared this with people you think would enjoy it. I'm not requesting that you share it with everybody, but like at least some people. Yeah. So enjoy it. For now, it's just gonna be a black screen, but there will be a logo coming soon. Episodes should be uploaded every Monday evening for the next very long Mondays. As long as we can make podcast episodes, we'll be making podcast episodes. I will come out with a video if we don't make a podcast episode to tell you why, like we didn't make one, or we'll just bring it up next podcast episode. But as long as I am there, I will make a podcast video episode for you guys. So enjoy. Sorry that the others are quieter than I am. I fixed the audio mixer, so next episode should be completely normal. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to, I believe we agreed the School's Out podcast. I still don't know. We might change the name. I'm your host, Ethan Butler, with my co-hosts, Xander Corkins and Jared Leckby.
Yeah.
Yeah, we decided to start this podcast on majorly a whim. Like one day I was just like, "Hey guys, what if we just had a podcast?"
That's basically how this entirely started.
So but yeah, we're all theater students. Um some of us are idiots, and we all enjoy the same basic stuff. So we've all got some topics to discuss. We're going to introduce ourselves, of course. Yeah. So how about you guys introduce yourselves? Let's start with Xander.
So I'll start off. Okay, so I'm Xander, and of course I'm the one called Evil Corky. I'm also the one that has the Kevin picture. So with me, I've been a huge gaming nerd. I'm a D&D nerd. Um, I guess you can also say I'm a VR nerd now since I have an Oculus Quest, which has been extremely fun. Theater nerd as well. Grew up in theater. Everything's been pretty good.
Yeah. The Oculus Quest, I can attest, is great until we came up with the bright idea to have one person have the hands and the other person have the actual like headset.
Yes, that is a great moment, and I have a better way we can do it because of the fact of
It's a
stuff.
it's a terrible idea. I mean, one of us is just standing there like, "Oh crap, I'm going to die." Here.
Yeah.
How about Jared? You introduce yourself next.
Okay. All right. So hello. I'm Jared. I really like choir and I really like D&D, along with theater, and I yeah, I really like TV, some video games.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
I mean, I think everyone in this I think everyone in this podcast does enjoy video games quite a bit. Yeah, we're all in the same D&D group as well. I'm Ethan Butler. I enjoy D&D. Um, I I really like RPG video games because who doesn't like pissing off every NPC ever?
It's a fair point.
And yeah, I enjoy movies, comics, just the normal stuff. I am a theater student as well. Uh, yeah. So how's quarantine gone for everybody so far?
I mean, it
Well,
sucks being stuck in a house.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
as you said, I hope it to be gone.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting this long of a quarantine. Like, I figured school might be like a few weeks canceled, and so when they said they were gonna cancel for like 2 weeks, I was like, ah, makes sense. And then they're like, yeah, we're no longer going to school, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, when all this first started, I thought it'd just, blow over and we just have school like normal. It'd be like just this small new sickness going around.
Yeah,
And then it turned into this giant thing.
Into a giant world pandemic.
yeah.
Would you look at that?
But right as like quarantine started, like a few days after, we had to go to Price Chopper, local grocery store, to to get supplies, to get food, and not like stock up, but just a regular grocery run. And so we're all the whole family's there because we are all picking out some stuff that we wanted because we knew we were gonna be in the house for a while, so we got some snacks and whatnot. And
Yeah.
there were so many old people, like all those people who were at risk. They were they were everywhere. They're like stocking up, and then there's like this crazy lady and her son who were wearing masks and gloves and like they were wearing the whole shebang. And I was like, what? And then people were getting offended because I was videotaping. I was recording some just funny stuff that I was saying. People were getting offended by my use of the word apocalypse because I was like, it's the apocalypse, Mom. Let's just buy the whole store.
I would imagine so when everyone's taking this seriously and you're over here joking about an apocalypse happening.
I'm
I
over
mean, they have a fair point.
I'm over here insulting snack cakes, and I'm like, it's the apocalypse. But literally,
What I
all the
mean,
snack cakes were gone.
I
what I
really
mean,
like
bro.
snap cakes. At least, no, if you're gonna talk about anything and make fun of anything, you have to make fun of the fact of whenever this all started, toilet paper became nothing anymore. It was literally everyone needed it, quotation marks, air
Yeah,
quotes.
yeah, like
Stores
nobody
were running out.
nobody
That's
understood that your hands are washable. Like,
yeah.
uh,
The biggest necessity, toilet paper, not shampoo, not a
No, nothing that
to go
keeps you
out
clean.
gross.
Just something that
Not
is a one-time use is what everyone needed.
not something, that's everyone uses. The thing that 25% of the world uses, toilet paper.
yep. Like, I was walking down the Price Chopper alley, all the paper products were like ransacked, and I was like, man, huh? And I was like, because at first I was like, I heard stories of people like stockpiling toilet paper, but I always thought it's just stories, and no, people are actually stockpiling. We're actually stockpiling toilet paper.
Yeah.
Food, not surprising needed, nothing actually useful, just toilet paper.
Look, toilet paper is both usable and edible, if you're brave enough.
Before or
I
after
mean,
use.
Before
oh,
obviously, we're not hooligans. We're not Neanderthals out here.
I mean, not yet.
The world's descending into chaos.
It kind of fluctuates. It goes down and then goes all the way up.
Speaking of quarantine, I think I'm going to dip into my first topic here. I was reading an article about how there's just a major disparity, like, not a major disparity, there's like a huge difference. Like, there's either quarantine babies, like babies who were products of quarantine, and or just a lot of newlyweds divorcing, because, being stuck in a house together for a really long time really shows the cracks in a relationship.
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
very prudent.
yeah.
I just keep thinking, I'm like, dang. I just realized that, like, I think we got it easiest with the quarantine because we're still all living with our families and whatnot. So I mean, if you were like living alone or with a bunch of roommates, I could see how that would get on edge really fast.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to make a bad joke right now. Oh,
Oh gosh. All right, fire away.
well, Ethan, you and me don't have to worry about divorces. We don't have dads.
All right. Well. um. Yup.
Oh,
Uh,
A virtual
well,
high five here.
well, I guess I'm stuck here.
Jared over here, like, oh crap.
Jared's like, all right. Do I keep the joke going or do I lay off the subject?
Maybe we should just let this. Yeah.
We'll just let the joke die now. Um.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Huh. But yeah, I was also thinking, like, where is Florida Man? Where did he go? Is he in
I don't know.
quarantine? Because like you don't see as many Florida Man articles anymore. So I'm wondering, like, is he actually obeying the law for once in his life, or is he plotting
Best
something big?
gets out of quarantine. Every Florida man in every state ever.
They,
Florida man that takes over the world.
Florida has invaded the U.S.
It's no longer Florida man. It is the U.S. man.
He has taken it all.
Roman comes back for his revenge.
Oh, I saw this picture and it was a Florida beach, and because the beaches they like there's different districts and each district had decided whether or not like each county had decided whether or not they were going to have a stay-at-home order. And so there's like legit there's a line in the beach. On one side there's a bunch of people partying and swimming and drinking and whatnot. On the other side there's two cops on ATVs with shotguns and the whole beach is empty. And I'm like, huh.
What?
There, yeah, like Florida, the governor, he never was like, oh, we need a whole stay-at-home order. He was like, district or county, officials, you guys decide whether or not to have a stay-at-home order. So like some beaches were super open for spring break and were a cesspool to the disease, and other beaches had two cops with shotguns.
Okay, so when you think about it though, so that means if someone in that county tried to go to the beach with the cops just pull out shotguns and go, leave.
Hippity hoppity,
What?
your kneecaps are my property. You won't need to stay at home. You're gonna be staying in the hospital. Racks a shell.
I mean, out of all of the things, why would you go to the beach with a shotgun?
Yeehaw, brother. Like it was just two cops, and they're like the shotguns are on a rack on the back of their ATVs, and they're just like parked on the beach, watching the party people, making sure nobody crosses the invisible line that separates the counties. And I'm like, Ugh.
Florida?
Florida, whack.
Yeah,
Or-
bro.
So, do you get? How about you guys? We've talked about my topic, basically quarantine, coronavirus, and Florida. Um, let's hear some of your guys' topics. I wanna discuss some other stuff.
Okay. I'll go, I guess. Okay. My topics are all somewhat game themed because video game nerd. Okay. First subtopic of this. First D&D campaign.
Our first D&D campaign. Like,
what was your guys' first D&D experience? I guess I would say.
here, I'll let Jared take this one first.
All right. Well, my first D&D experience, it was an improv on the go D&D with my man here, Ethan, being the DM. If none of you, if you know what that means, that is the dungeon master.
Yes, I was basically God, and I still technically am because I'm their dungeon master currently. So a lot of the times I like to joke, like if somebody like taunts me or ticks me off, I'm like, yeah, their character's dead. Stroke.
Yeah, I forget. Your first experience, Jared, was freshman year.
Yeah. Uh, that campaign was interesting because I had a whole story for it, but then on the other side, we were all everyone was just an idiot.
I mean, yeah, I was a bit idiotic.
Uh,
Seeming I tried to fly with my arms, you know.
yeah, you just and then you succeeded. At one point, you took off. You were just like, yeet.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Completed.
guys. Would love to help with this fight and all, but I can fly now.
And flew with his bare arms, just slapping them away and just took off. That was an
Yes.
interesting pseudo campaign.
Yeah,
And it was at the kind of the weirdest time because I just randomly was constantly trying it, and then just during a conversation, I just start flying.
yeah. Yeah, that campaign was really good. And then Jared, I believe I reached out to you for the assassination campaign. Um, and all, and you were our Warforged druid.
Yes.
So Jared was basically a transformer that turned into animals.
Uh,
It was amazing.
realized Druidcraft was just only for seeds.
Yeah.
Growing and made a car, or made the skeleton of a car.
Yep.
That was nice. Ethan, what was your first experience of D&D?
Mine was when I was like 11 or 12. My brother was like, "Oh yeah, some guys from our church, they want to do a video game, just kind of hang out." And I was like, "Oh sweet," because at the time I we had just gotten the Xbox and I was grinding Black Ops 2 and Halo Reach. Like I was grinding them. And so I was like, "Oh sweet, I'll get to flex my skills." And we got there and there's a table, there's some snacks, and then there's a bunch of books and paper and pencils. I was like, "Wait a second. What?" And so we ended up playing a Star Wars D&D campaign, one that I never got invited back to, uh, for reasons I didn't understand it fully, so I was more of like, what can I do? And then I was a bit too loud, like, and yeah, so I was not invited back to that one. But we were playing a Star Wars one. I was a Wookiee that was all black with red eyes. I was supposed to look just absolutely evil, and then I just dual wielded axes. But yeah, my first experience was interesting, and then I learned I had a knack for like DMing, which is dungeon mastering. So like I had a knack for writing the story and having people play it instead of like playing it myself. Playing it myself, I still don't know if I truly enjoy it as much as I enjoy being a dungeon master. But but yeah, Xander, what was your first experience?
First experience is one of my best friends, Josh Reddings, invited me to D&D for the first time, and I was like, I know what D&D is because of just hearing it around, and I just was asking around at the same time, and I of course went. In my character, it was a space themed, so it wasn't through D&D, but it was pretty much D&D, as in like everything was the same. So I was a technician in my character, and everything was absolutely a blast. I got to work with people before I didn't know, and it was great to know them all. But I have two stories that I love about this campaign. Both of them happened in like the first couple of sessions of me learning how to do D&D. First story is when one of my teammates tried to kick down a door. We rolled in that once, we broke his leg instead.
I've got this, guys. Oh.
No, but the door was unlocked as well. Like you could just straight up open it, and he broke his leg on the door.
Just breaks leg.
Just
And for my
completely
next
broke his
trick,
leg. It was absolutely hilarious. Because then my character went up, opened the door, and then went, "Go, buddy," and shoved him in.
wow.
I took the rolled a nat 20, killed the guy so I kicked the door, rolled a nat 20. The door flew into one of the guys, instantly killing them, and then I didn't even have to roll, and I got a straight up headshot with a laser pistol I had.
Epic.
It was hilarious. One person failed, and I did really great. My other experience with this is breaking his campaign. The first session of me, or like the first, I think it was like third session or second session. We're at this ship junction, and one of my teammates, the same person that broke his leg, was wanting to get a ship really badly. I was trying to get deals to get it lower price, but it was still unbelievably high, and none of us had money to do it. I went over and I went, "Hey, can I inspect the ship?" Now, in the DM's mind, he said to himself, I, Vander, rolled a nat 20, I would get a free ship. Nothing to it. It was really good. Anything lower, I just saw that the ships were really bad. So me, over here, I rolled a nat 20 on investigation on the ship. DM had to go upstairs to his room, just 3 floors up, or 2 floors up, have something for a ship. Come back down, and then went, "Yeah, you got a free ship." And then we didn't have to continue the campaign anymore. Because we could just fly everywhere.
Gosh, it's fun to break the campaigns, but when I've been on the receiving end of broken campaigns, and it's a pet peeve, but it's really funny too. Jared once rolled a nat 20 to turn into a bear. So not only did he turn into a bear, he turned into a bear that was Russian, drinking vodka and had an AK, and he had the power. He had the power of Putin. So literally any team votes.
The power. But you also forget he had the abs of Vladimir Putin.
Of course. He also had he looked like a mix of Vladimir Putin and a bear. And he had the power that any team votes he could outrule with the power of Putin. Because Putin doesn't let anybody vote but himself.
It was hilarious. And right after this, he got stabbed with a sword and was not able to do anything.
Yeah, right after this, he goes, let's do this. And then Flying Sword's like, I've decided to end this man's career.
Oh, that was great. I have another subtopic. First video game or best video game you had, and why?
First video game, first one that we
truly loved, it was one of your favorite video game, and why?
Here, I'll go first for this one. Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga on the Wii. That game was epic. Me and my brother, we played that game so much. We did everything. I always liked the gun characters, like the stormtroopers or the clones, and so I always played as those. But Zeke always liked to play as Luke Skywalker or Han Solo. And so he would only play as those characters, and I'm over here switching between clone to General Grievous to Darth Vader, and And so we'd often play like the free play levels, and at first we didn't know how to select our own in free play you can switch between certain characters, but we didn't know how to switch between those. So we always would stick with our custom characters we made, which were both Jedis with afros of varying color. And yeah, it was great. I love that game so much. But like I guess like my first game that I really enjoyed on the Xbox would have to be Fallout 3. Another great game. I bought it for like $30, Game of the Year edition, so like all the DLCs included. And I have to say I've never had so much fun just playing that game. Like
That's a scam for $30, bruh.
yeah, for $30 at Walmart, I got the Game of the Year edition, which included 4 DLCs. I didn't play. I regret it now, but I didn't play one of the DLCs because in that DLC you lose all of your stuff and you kind of just restart from scratch. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I've got all this good stuff. Now I'm like, I should have done that. Into the Pit, where you go to Pittsburgh.
Lose your stuff.
Well, you lose it for almost the entire mission story because you're a slave. But
Basically, thought it was for everything. Jared, what about you?
Well, the first game that I really liked was no, it took me a while to really appreciate games, and I really liked the new Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild,
mm,
first of the Zelda series that I've actually finished.
huh. I've never played any of the. I have a Switch now, but I've never played any of the Zelda games. Are they good?
Yes, they're very good.
All right, I'll have to check it out because like I've been looking for new games for the Switch because
Yeah.
all I've been doing is grinding Mario Kart and Smash, um, and as one does during quarantine.
Yeah,
What
I
else is
understand.
there to do?
Xander, what was your first game that you truly enjoyed?
Really enjoy. No, I came up with this. I have games come to mind, which is Borderlands 2, Bioshock 2, and then there's a Star Wars game. Star Wars Force Unleashed. It was always
Ah,
I think the one that I like my favorite out of all of them has to be Bioshock 2. Because of the fact that it was just one of those games where I saw it and I was like, I've never seen the Bioshock franchise. I'll try it out. Middle game, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had because it's side quests to it. The story plot was just amazing. Um, but so many guns you could use, so many ways you can just get through a level. Also had like special powers you had. It was so much fun to be able to like just do what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it.
yeah, I
You
think
could try to stealth.
yeah, I think that a lot of RPG games, like I think people's favorite games often are RPG games because they can play the way they want to. Like Breath of the Wild,
It wasn't an RPG RPG.
it was a looter
It was more
shooter.
for the fact that there was a main storyline that had a few side quests on it. Um, but there was a certain few guns that you had, but they were still amazing in what you could do with them. I even designed a Bioshock D&D campaign.
Yeah, I know. I'm
One of my
I'm excited to play that one.
It's one of the games I first got. And it was just always. I think that's also where I got my true passion. If I had any ability, of like fire, water, ice, or like any of that, it'd be water and ice because I just love it. In Bioshock, because you could freeze people and then smack the just shatter, and it's awesome.
Yeah, with Fallout 3 for my first ever playthrough, I was terrified to like get the NPCs like upset at me. And so like I played the absolute nice guy. Like I was always like helping everyone out and then I didn't know how to fast travel either. So I was literally wandering the wasteland like crap, how do I get to DC? And then I was terrified for the longest time because in Fallout, basically, it's post-apocalyptic, like DC area, and so the way you get to certain places is you have to walk through these dark metro tunnels, and they're full of like these radiated zombies. And for the longest time, I was terrified of those tunnels. So I did all the side quests that had to do with like the main hub. So like you get to a town called Megaton, which it's called that because it's got a megaton bomb in the middle of it that's undetonated. And so you get there and your first like side quest is figuring out how to defuse the bomb. And then you get offered like this random guy at the bar is like, "Hey, I have an employer who wants you to nuke this whole town." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And so, but like I did all these side quests and I ended up being like a bouncer at this bar and I had to go settle debts with people. And that's when I learned that, oh, I probably shouldn't be too afraid of this game as my character is just freaking amazing. And then that mindset that I was super awesome kind of fell to the background when I met my first Deathclaw, which for anybody who hasn't played Fallout, they're giant like 9 foot tall lizards that stand on
Have
two
sharp
legs
claws, and
and massive claws. And I mean my
you can one
first
shot the character very easily if not wearing good armor.
yeah, and my first experience was with a chameleon Deathclaw, which are super rare. Um, I was in the DC area, so you go through this like destroyed city, and there's like a river, and so I was doing a side quest where I just turned on a power substation to help some NPCs whatnot, and I thought I was cool. Thought I was a cool guy because I had some combat armor, so and I had my silenced 10 millimeter pistol. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm freaking awesome, and then I go to click onto VATS, which is like this automated targeting system that locates enemies, and all of a sudden it pops to this figure in the water, a huge figure, but I have a 0% chance of hitting it at all, and I'm like, wait, what? And so I pop out of VATS, and I think it's a glitch. So I continue walking down the bridge, and I hear the water like ripple and whatnot. And I look over and I see like this slightly invisible figure moving towards me. I was like, wait a second. I start shooting at it, and this thing just appears and just kills me. And I had to pause the game because I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh. And so I literally I save quit and I left the game for a few hours because I was like, oh geez. And that kind of restarted my fear of the game. And so I think one of the most terrifying things about that Fallout 3 was that it was so dark. Like a lot of the game is super dark, and so you can't really um explore it fully unless you had your flashlight. And so I was terrified of the game for like the longest time. And so yeah, but eventually I learned to really enjoy it. I started playing like I had a few playthroughs where like one of them I decided to kill everybody. Like I was just like, you know what? Let's just kill them all. And so like I just killed everybody. Like no discrimination, no like he's a bad NPC, I'll stick with him. No, I was just like, yep, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. And yeah, but Fallout 3 was one of the best RPGs I've ever played. And I believe Breath of the Wild's also an RPG. Like you don't like I guess you don't. I don't know. I've never played it. Jared, do you wanna explain more about?
Yeah, Breath of the Wild is took a turn where it's more of a free roam game, and you start out in this one little part of the map, and do the few things there that you need to do, and then there's the rest of the map that you can do whatever you want, and then there's this main storyline of defeating Ganon, which is the main bad guy of all the Zelda games. Then Ganon takes several different forms, like there's Calamity Ganon, Ganondorf, and several like that. Yeah, and it's really fun. And there's villages, there's horses. You can go around defeating, getting loot, and selling stuff, and yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I love
Now
games
there's a
like that.
quest where you can get this guy's like Morocco. Do that?
Oh yeah, the Korok seeds.
Yes.
Korok seeds are the little things that you find off in the game. Then little secrets, and they're all over everywhere. It could be anything from like there's blocks and you need to move one to on top of another one, and then this little thing pops up. And if you go to the maracas, you can get and you have enough Korok seeds, you can get enough to get an extra slot in your weapons, shields, bows, or anything.
Huh. And so, like with Breath of the Wild, can you just play it to your play style? Where like, let's say I want to play an up close like heavy weapon character, even though it's the same character for all playthroughs, it's Link, but like,
Yeah.
oh, so like somebody could pick like, oh, I only want to use my bow, like,
Um. Well, you could sort of,
I think
not
it would just be
really.
harder.
It would be a lot harder. It's
ah,
easier because, well, the way it's played is there are these God, it's been a little bit since I played. Uh, there are these shrines that you go to, and they're puzzles, and it has you use every material that you have in order to figure them out. And at the end, you get an orb, and if you get enough, you get another heart or another stamina.
hmm,
And you build up and in strength enough to where you can go. You think you can go defeat the Ganon. And once you defeat Ganon, it's basically the end of the game.
huh,
But if you wanted to, you could go straight from the beginning of the game, get through the first part, and once you get through the first part, you can go straight from there and go to his castle and try and defeat him.
I'd love
It would be
games that
fun.
do that. Um,
Yeah.
like the one I can think of is you can like speed run Skyrim, and I accidentally did that. Like I there's some side quests where I was like, yeah, no, I'll blow it off till later. I want to kind of finish this little bit of the storyline. So I got so immersed in the storyline that I wasn't doing any of the side quests, and so I still had I had dwarvish weaponry, so I still had like it was okay weapons for, and then I was only like level 30, but like I got to this one part and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna go up to the mountain, learn this new shout, and I'll be fine. And then the final boss lands on the mountain. I'm like, wait a second, hold up. And so I was like, maybe this is just like a cutscene or like a warning. No, you fight him, and I died 3 times, and I was like, oh.
Dang.
So I had to revert my save, and I was like, you know what? Time to do some side quests, because it was terrifying because he lands and I'm like, oh, it's a cutscene. Maybe the dragons will fight because there's like 2 dragons on the mountain, the evil one and the good one. No, instead he goes, Dragonborn, I'm here to kill you. And I'm like, wait, hold up. I'm only level 30. Please go easy. And then he launched a meteor from the sky to me and hit me right in the face. And I was like, oh, guess I'll just die. But like I like Skyrim because Breath of the Wild seems like Skyrim, but it seems also kind of better because like you use everything. And I don't know. I've never played Breath of the Wild, but it sounds really fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Ethan, you mentioned about like scary game, about how like that chameleon scared you and like everything. Oh, I've learned a new appreciation for scary games. Not through playing on the Xbox, but playing through the VR.
Oh jeez.
Oh my gosh, scary games in VR are about 20 times more scarier than console scary games.
I would assume so.
Dang.
Like it seems like
I mean,
you're in the game fully.
yeah, there's kind of no backing out of that.
So, as an example, I bought a game called Lies Beneath, and it's a really good game. It's a horror game. So in the middle, when I first played it, I was walking, following the storyline, and then I went into this dark cave, and you have a lighter that like lights in only like a certain area. So you have to hold that, and like I was like, I'm not doing this, so I sprinted through it real quick. Nothing happened to me. At one point, I died because a creature came out of nowhere and just killed me and got spooked. I was like, okay, you try again. It put me back at the beginning of the game, so I had to go back through. In the cave this time, I was like, okay, I'll walk through. There might be something like important in here, like I get a gun or something. As I'm walking through, there's one part where I hear a noise behind me, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna sprint real quick. As I sprint through it, a figure appears a foot away from me, out of nowhere. The living crap out of me.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I think the scariest game I've ever played was Alien Isolation, and I got that on like a like kind of sort of like a sale on Steam, and I played it for a while. That thing was terrifying. Like, and I wasn't even in VR for it. I can only imagine, like, just like, I hear a noise behind me, turns around, never mind. I'm just going to keep walking and hope it doesn't follow me.
Oh, this is a game. So I don't play horror games that much. But Lies Beneath is like it's such an addicting game. So you want to play it, but you're like I'm gonna get spooked. Oh, another thing is in the middle of this thing, they trap you in a cabin. It's very small. They just give you a shotgun, so you're like, I have this overpowered weapon. It holds limited ammo, and a horde comes after you. So they bust in, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing fine, because I set up like a bunch of traps. I set like melee weapons with me. Out of nowhere, I'm in this corner, and I didn't know it at the time, but the roof broke. And out of nowhere, this like four-legged creature jumps in and lands right on top of my character. Scared, I literally almost threw my controllers and the headset off.
Uh,
I was like, no.
you know what game I've rediscovered that is surprisingly terrifying is Minecraft. Like, it doesn't sound like it, but I have never been more terrified by a game other than like Alien Isolation than Minecraft. Like, there's just so many like things that aren't meant to jump scare you that jump scare me. Like with one of the Minecraft updates, there's ravines, and so there's an underground ravine, and I'm just building like a bridge, and this skeleton decides to 360 Phase Clan no scope me as he's jumping out. Like he just decides to jump off the side of the ravine, fall like 50 feet, shoot me off of my bridge, die, and then kill me. And I'm like, what the heck? But it scared me. Like I jumped and almost threw my mouse, and I watched him too, because I was building a block and I go, skeleton can't shoot me because I had my shield up. And so I place a block and I look up and he's gone. And I turn to the side just to see him like 360 shoot me off of the bridge. And I was like, and like almost threw my mouse. Like I almost just chucked it.
Oh my gosh.
Hey. Dude.
Okay.
Trick shots by the Minecraft.
Yeah, he was like 1v1 me Rust, bro, and then he shot me, and I was like, oh.
Very interesting. Weird, what's your topics? Because
what was that last part? Sorry, what?
what's your topic, or what's one of your topics? Because I feel like we've been on the reaction.
Well, one of my topics is English is broken.
Ah.
Have you ever noticed like some things like don't quite make sense, but they do sometimes? Like,
Yeah,
it smells funny. Do you just smell and just start breaking out laughing?
Yeah, I have to say, I think after like studying a foreign language or like yeah, like studying a foreign language because I took 2 years of Spanish, you realize how much our language sucks. Like just how many like different how much one word means so many different things. Whereas in Spanish, they've got words for everything. One word only means one thing, and so you have a just vast majority of words you can use. Whereas English, we could say I can't think of one. But yeah, you can say one thing and it just like it means so many
Yeah.
different things.
Like smell funny, look funny, and then and just funny.
So what you're saying is we should ban the word funny.
No, not. Well, yeah, actually.
Well, no, but actually yes.
Yeah, English can kind of just break sometimes, cause like, yes, just yes, cause of all the things of all of the words and clashing so much.
Speech 100 right there, Jared. Speech 100. Um
Yeah.
yeah, no, English is a I often think like I don't know, like I think in other countries, do they think in English? Like are they thinking in English or is it baffles me. Like sometimes I just can't comprehend that there are people in other countries that speak another language and think in another language. Like for me when I speak another language, I'm still thinking in English. I'm like, "Uh-huh. Like this means that. This means this. This is what I'm trying to say. I've actually butchered all of my Spanish homework and I am failing."
I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of like interesting though. It's like when you think about it. That's a good point though. Like if you're speaking another language, um, I'm just throwing it out there. So say you speak, I'm just gonna go with Chinese just because it popped in my mind first. Would you think in English or would you be thinking Chinese? It's actually a pretty good point.
Yeah, like I don't think we think in English. I think we think in just reference to another person. Like man, this is getting deep. But like I think
Dude,
when you're
A
talking
podcast
in
about us
English.
being idiots.
like,
Yeah, I thought this
I think,
podcast was going to be about like video games and movies. Now we're getting into philosophy here.
dude, I mean, like, can you think emotion?
When you think emotion,
I think I'm
Like,
just
whenever,
more
like,
confused.
whenever you feel emotion and stuff, like, can you, like, and sometimes whenever you have emotions behind words, can you just think without any words or anything, just the emotion without putting a word in front behind it?
Huh. Holy
no, I don't
crap.
think we can though.
You're breaking my brain. I'm trying.
No,
Ah.
I don't think that's possible because with language, when you make a word, it has a correlation that's like stuck in your brain. When you think about
But
being happy, there's a definition behind happy. Everyone knows what happy is. It's just one of those things where there's a definition, but I don't think your brain can think of it. It's more like, example, our body gives off happy drug, the cuddle drug or whatever, where it makes us happy.
yeah,
Oh,
I
serotonin.
don't think it's more you can. I was about to say dopamine.
I think it might be
But
dopamine too. I don't know. I did a whole
I
info
think
on
three, I
this and
think. There's three
I
like
think
happy
it might
drugs.
be called. I think what you're trying to say is alcohol.
of
No, if
course.
anything, I'm saying drugs fix everything. But
We,
um,
ladies and gentlemen,
Alcohol.
we've solved all the world's issues. All it takes is enough cocaine.
oh
No.
no, oh no, oh, okay.
Wait, if there's a happy drug, is there a sad drug?
Yes.
Tweet.
or
Hold on, I'm
or
about to
or
look this
is
up.
the
Let me
sat
hold on. Garrett, hold on. Also, is this what your topic was, or is this just came out whenever you messed up?
It just came out, bro.
Okay, I was just wondering. But no, you continue on this talk about everything.
maybe the happy drug is actually the lack of the or the sad drug is actually the lack of the happy drug.
I think that's what it is. Is there a? Is it,
Or is there individual drugs for each emotion? Because there are so many emotions in the thing. I mean, like happiness, sadness, funny, which is confusing as no other. Because
okay, I'm gonna stop looking it up because it keeps bringing me to and drugs that make you sad. So I'm gonna just stop before that gets anywhere else. But I think Ethan, you're right. It's more you're missing dopamine, so your body's like. Eh. How would you explain getting angry?
Oh, I actually did a whole info on this and video games and relating all this. When you're angry, the neurons are firing faster in your temporal lobe. So basically, anger is just your brain working faster, and yeah, it's just your brain getting speed.
Speed is
It's
key.
getting
Okay.
it's gaining speed. Does that mean speed isn't correct? Isn't like exactly right?
um,
Isn't like healthy?
Perhaps I have no idea. I'm not gonna throw anything out here because the scientific community would butcher me. Um,
I mean, yeah, we're all just guessing here.
if
So
any of the 6 people who end up watching this, if any of the 6 people who do that, um, are from the science community, please don't any no angry comments. Put down the pitchforks. We're just 3 guys.
here, if you wanna put the pitchfork here, take a blow on me.
No, don't kill Jared. We need you for like at least 2 more episodes.
I mean, after that, you know, who knows?
After that, yeah, who knows what'll happen? Maybe we're all dead.
You know.
Um, yeah, surprising stuff. Robert Pattinson is going to be Batman.
Is that the guy that? Oh wait, are you talking about the new Batman movies that's coming out?
Yeah, the new Batman.
Isn't
For
that the guy that did was
Twilight. Yeah, he was Edward in Twilight.
oh.
Huh.
Like I've seen the concept art, and he actually looks like he might be a good Batman. Like
No, but
we
he
had.
look like a good Batman, but can he act like a good Batman?
Well, that's the thing is everyone thinks of him as just like the Twilight uh, vampire love interest. Which I mean, to be fair, all I'm saying is my mom and my sisters have like rewatched the Twilight series at least 6 times during this quarantine, and I'm sick of it. But he's acted in other movies, and I watched some of those, and he's a really good actor. So I think he might do Batman more justice than Ben Affleck did.
I mean, Ben Affleck basically betrayed the Batman code because straight up in Batman vs Superman. And did he get guns? And why is he using guns?
He's just got too many
moving on.
guns.
Just Batman does no questions. Batman does Batman.
Batman pulls out Glock. To quote George Washington, "Stay strapped or get clapped."
What the?
Is that to quote George Washington though?
Yeah, as he was crossing the Delaware. Don't you guys remember that? He was like the Germans were like all hung over. He's crossing the Delaware and he loads a musket. He's like, "Stay strapped or get clapped."
Jeez.
But yeah,
Seriously?
historical moments as interpreted by Ethan. New series coming to History Channel this summer.
History 101 with Idaho. I mean, sorry, Ohio.
Oh yeah, my for anyone who doesn't know, my Discord name is Ohio. Um, but yeah, huh? But yeah, I think plus I think the writers for this Batman movie are going to be better than the Ben Affleck writers, because I mean Ben Affleck, I think he could have played a good Batman if he had a better logo and costume design, and if he had better writers. Because I think the writers for Batman versus Superman and Justice League, they were not good. Ugh.
The
Not
only DC movies I think that are actually good are Aquaman and Wonder Woman. Those are the only good ones so
well.
far.
Don't forget about the Dark Knight trilogy. Those ones were really good.
Wait, yes, the Dark Knight trilogy. I'm talking about recent ones.
Oh, recent ones, yeah. I don't know how I feel about. There's a Wonder Woman sequel coming out. Like,
19
There
something.
is?
yeah,
1984.
1984. Yeah, Wonder Woman 84. I I was like, wait a second. Like, I don't think if she has a sequel, I don't think it should be in 1984. Like, I'd want to see her in like World War II or like Vietnam. Actually, probably not Vietnam. Or like maybe just like her in modern time. Cause like I think the appeal of Wonder Woman, the first movie, was that like she was it was an awesome movie. Like the score was written well, the script was written well. Gal Gadot is an amazing actress for Wonder Woman, but I don't know how I feel about her getting a sequel in 1984. I would want a sequel in like modern times.
I mean, I don't know because they could have a big plan for this. Like, they could have it planned out to where it does end up in modern times, or
That's what I
they
think they're
have
leading up to.
they have a different idea which is necessary for them to be in that time period.
Yeah, but I also think that when you put something in the past where you've already had a movie in the future, there's some aspects that kind of ruin that movie, like the fact that we know Wonder Woman isn't in any peril because she appears in Justice League and Batman versus Superman. So we know that,
Maybe
yeah,
it could
and
be possibly like her backstory and stuff, just to explain more of that. And maybe there's something secret that we don't know about.
yeah, true. Um, and then like the villain looks interesting though. So I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll have to see it. Just for me, I was thinking I really would want her in like a more modern, movie, like modern time set movie, because I think like in Justice League, the intro where the guys are robbing the bank and they're about to just blow it up and whatnot. I think that was really cool because like it was all modern and whatnot, and then she just shows up with a freaking sword and shield and wrecks all of them. Like, yeah, sure, you've got an automatic weapon, but I've got a freaking sword. Lol. But yeah, so and then did you hear that they might just use Flash to just restart the entire DC universe?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised if they come out with a Flashpoint movie.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
Another one.
yeah, they could.
DC's smart in the fact that the way their comics are set up, they can have multiple characters that reset the universe in case movies get bad or TV shows get bad. Um, Speaking of
They've
which,
got their backups.
Marvel may have a great cinematic universe, but DC like TV shows, I've actually watched a few really good, like really good
Yeah,
writing.
The
Um,
DC with TV shows are good right now.
yeah, I really
Marvel
like
doesn't
the.
have, I don't, any real like good ones in my
like
opinion.
I watched Marvel's Iron Fist, sucked. I hated the writing for Danny. Danny was like just this whiny kid. Like literally, even as Iron Fist, he was all like, "Oh, I happen to have all this money and all this power, but it sucks being me." And then I didn't watch any of the other Marvel ones because Iron Fist kind of just ruined it for me. But they're gonna make a Moon Knight TV show, which I'm super excited about because Moon Knight is one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Who is Moon Knight?
Um, so Moon Knight basically at first he was a mercenary. Um, he went by the name of Mark Spector because his name was Mark Spector. um, but he basically like he was a mercenary for a while. He and his uh, buddy, the Bushman, an Australian mercenary, they were out robbing this Egyptian professor archaeologist who was digging gold from temples to give it to the museums. And they were hired to get the gold and sell it on the black market. So they go there, and the guy's got his daughter with him, and Bushman gets all a bit too sexual assault vibes on this girl, and Mark Spector's like, "Hey, that's not the mission," and Bushman goes, "Actually, the real mission is to kill you," and Mark Spector's like, "Wait, what?" And Bushman's like, "Look, I didn't want to have to do this," and then he blew Mark Spector's chest out open with a 50 cal. But then Mark Spector's body is found by a cult of moon god worshippers who bring him to the altar of the moon god, and the moon god's like, "Hey, if you let me half possess you, um, you and I can get along, and I'll give you another chance at life." So Mark Spector's like, I'm alive again, but I also now have split personality disorder. And
Damn.
so Moon Knight, Mark Spector, he's still a highly trained operative and whatnot, and deadly in his own right. But when Moon
Yeah.
Knight takes over, which is the moon god in his body, he gets cosmic powers. He is absolutely insane. And in the end of his first comic line, the Bushman takes his daughter and his wife hostage and whatnot, and he ends up fighting the Bushman, and he cuts the Bushman's face off. Like he just yeet. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" It was the best finale though, because the Bushman goes, "I know you, Mark. You wouldn't kill me. You don't have the guts." And Mark goes, "I won't kill you. but the fall will, and then he cuts off Bushman's face and throws him off a bridge. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the best one line ever. Just like, I won't kill you, but the fall will. Yeet.
Dang.
Yeah. So Moon Knight getting a TV show. Gonna be great.
Yeah, this guy's more of like a not quite villain, but not quite
Yeah,
hero.
he's like an anti-hero. But he's super cool. But yeah, so
Yeah, sort of more like Venom.
yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of TV shows on like that Disney owns, The Mandalorian. I believe we've all seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But the Mandalorian. That was a great TV show. And I can't wait for season 2. Although I don't know how they're gonna play into like Ahsoka and Boba Fett.
Well, what they might do is instead of just going into a second season, they might make a movie about the Mandalorian
Huh.
and then go into the second season after that. Because you know how some seasons, some series make movies about the TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Like after certain seasons, they might do a movie like as a turning point for him, or a point in the storyline for him, and then go to the next one. I mean, I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
It's a very fair point.
Um,
I mean, The Mandalorian did hit off really well, so I'm not surprised if it does get a movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
I hope the movie is directed and produced by the same guy who did the TV show, and it should, because Jon
Yes.
Favreau, he did Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. He did Iron Man. Those two series of movies are my favorite Marvel movies. Like Iron Man and Spider-Man, two of my favorite Marvel
Yeah.
characters. But yeah, so I hope he directs it because he's a good director and a good producer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Although at the very end, when he got the jetpack, that's when it really got exciting.
yeah, I was like, oh my
Man.
gosh,
Looks
and then
like
he just decides to yeet the TIE fighter.
It's just there's so much like implied pressure in that show of just like what's gonna happen next, and everything's silent almost.
Yeah,
And
like
it's it's not silent only when it gets going.
intense.
Yeah, intense.
yeah,
Sorry, I
like
can't words today.
By the way, I guess we probably should have prefaced major spoilers for The Mandalorian before we started talking about this.
Oh yeah.
Major spoilers ahead. Skip to whatever timestamp I put on the label of this or the subtitles of this video. If you don't want a major Mandalorian spoilers, but when IG died, his death was awesome.
Oh, the unit? Oh my god.
Yes, I was legit
Yeah.
so close to crying. I was like, oh my gosh, he's dead. But all
No. I think one of my favorite moments is when he gets all the Vanguard steel and then just gets his new armor.
oh yeah, when he walks into the like the bounty hunter bar and everyone's staring at him and he's just like fully decked out and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Dude, bro.
That was a good moment.
My favorite, I think, was just when he goes in and just to get Baby Yoda.
Oh yeah, when he just John Wicks his way into the compound, and then I was not expecting it like them to show like just a stormtrooper on fire, like just screaming. He's like, "Ah, I'm on fire! Oh no!" I was not expecting that. I thought like you'd see the fire, and then it would just kind of cut to him running down a hallway or something. But no, you got to watch the stormtrooper just get cooked.
Yeah.
Because you know what? The Mandalorian is literally, in essence, the quote, stay strapped or get clapped. Like, think about it. He's got so many weapons.
Yeah. He is the boss in
Yeah, I think episode let's see. Yeah, I think episode 9 of Star Wars, I think instead of like Rey actually doing anything, I think it should have been like her like standing there, she's like getting electrocuted, and then Palpatine just gets sniped, and the Mandalorian walks up. He's like, "I had a bounty. I don't know what you guys are doing, but see ya."
I mean, Mandalorian is set back in the time, so I mean, a lot will change probably before that happens.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I also want to
So
see Baby Yoda with a Mandalorian helmet that has like holes for his ears.
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious.
I don't even know. How are they gonna do that design?
I don't know, but that would be
It'd be
amazing.
a Mandalorian helmet, just ears. No, he would have ear
No, no.
covers. No, his helmet would be built so that his ears would also have Vanguard metal around it.
No, Baby Yoda doesn't get a Mandalorian mask. The Mandalorian gets a Baby Yoda mask.
Oh my gosh. And then when they introduced the dark saber, um, at the end of season
Yeah.
1, I was like, wait a second, wait a second.
Wait, what? I missed that?
Yeah, when it was like an after credit scene, the Tie Fighters all crashed, and the Moff guy, he cuts a hole in it, and he comes out of the Tie Fighter holding the dark saber.
The Dark Saber, yeah, I remember. Yes, I saw that and I went, oh my gosh. No, him just holding the Dark Saber, just like, ooh, the Mandalorian about to get a Dark Saber.
That
I wonder
or
if they'll
Baby Yoda gets the dark saber.
Jeez.
That's how he becomes a Jedi? Oh my gosh.
Oh no! What if Baby Yoda becomes Dark Jedi?
Baby Yoda becomes a Sith
Dark
Lord.
Jedi.
Baby Yoda's the one who revives Palpatine. He's just like, rise, do it. Yeah, no, the one episode where Baby Yoda like chokes out, like they're having an arm wrestling match, and Baby Yoda decides to choke out the rebel shock trooper lady.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like-
just like Mandalore looks at Baby Yoda and goes, "What are you doing?"
He's a friend.
Not gonna lie, that was terrifying. I was like, oh my gosh, because he got all like angry. He was just like, yeah.
Dude, Baby Yoda's gonna be intimidating.
Yeah, like what I'm also surprised about is like that they're gonna introduce Ahsoka, because like she'd have to explain why she didn't try to reach out to Luke Skywalker, or like
That is because you need to watch
Clone Wars season 7.
Okay, so yes, so watch season 7.
All right.
It definitely does help understand a little bit why, and then also I know it's kind of weird. Also watch the Star Wars Rebels series.
Yeah, I've heard she's in there. So
Yes,
Pretty great series. I haven't watched it all though.
if you watch those, you will understand a little bit more why. Because I literally just did that. Like, last like 3 weeks, I finished season 7. I've been watching Rebels. It explains why she hasn't done a lot of stuff. Hasn't appeared in like mainline movies.
all right, yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of mainline movies, do you guys have a favorite mainline Star Wars movie?
Oh. Huh. I mean, they're all pretty great, but
Yeah, I know it's pretty hard to decide. Me myself, it took forever to like finally decide on one that I really liked, and that one ended up being movie 5, Revenge of the Sith, or not Revenge of the Sith, The Empire Strikes Back.
Revenge of the Sith.
You know, movie 5, Revenge of the Sith. Darth Vader fights Anakin Skywalker on Hoth.
Yeah.
um, no, but he's fighting himself. Like the whole movie is just like this epic battle between Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker, and then at the end it zooms out. It just shows Vader standing in the cold.
Full on the Rey moment, and where it's just herself infinitely just that, but
Oh my
by
gosh.
himself. Everyone's in the Darth Vader suit.
Yeah, no, but like I fell in love with Vader. Not in a romantic way, more of just I really liked his character. When I first saw when I first saw movie 4 and movie 5, like when Vader comes in, I was like, "Oh, that's a cool guy. I want to side with that guy." And then when movie 5, when when you first hear the Imperial March, I was like, "Oh, that's epic." And he like comes out and like everybody's lined up and in order, and he's like walking out. And I was like, this guy's cool.
Yeah, they make him
My
look
favorite.
so epic.
And
I
then
mean,
Rogue,
especially whenever he makes appearances, is like before in the newer movies.
yeah, like Rogue One, they did him justice. Like even though not enough, I did like I'd really wish they would I really wish that they would have given him a bit more people to kill. I think that his ending scene in Rogue One was amazing. Like where he just clowns all of those rebels.
Hold on. You
Yeah.
on YouTube or somewhere, there's a variation of that scene. It's in French.
Oh yeah, and it's
Google French.
Viom, Viom, Voosh.
What?
Yeah, somebody had all the sound effects translated. Like basically, they took the sound effect and they translated it to French. So instead of swoosh, it was zwoosh. And like it was the Google Translate voice saying all of it. It's pew 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 swoosh swoosh swoosh. It's probably
It's hilarious.
it's great.
uh,
Mine's gotta be I know it's a cliche,
Well,
but it's also a good one. Episode 6. I think the end scene where it's Vader, Luke, and Palpatine. That's a really good scene.
Yeah, I like that scene. That scene's actually like I movie 6 I like and all. I don't like the way Boba Fett dies because I think he's a super cool
Okay,
character.
Boba Fett's death is one of the most stupidest deaths ever.
It upsets me because like when you read in the comics, Boba Fett does all this super cool stuff, and he ends up getting beaten by a blind smuggler handcuffed holding an axe.
I mean, you
I know on
gotta
purpose.
realize
Just
the luck.
wait, where is he? Turn hits jetpack. It's one of the most stupidest deaths ever in Star Wars.
Yeah,
An amazing bounty hunter just gets one shotted.
yeah, and like that's the thing. It's like you read in the comics, and Boba Fett like took on Vader and survived. Like he didn't beat Vader. He basically just used Vader's focus on this like hologram or holo cube he had. Basically, Boba Fett was hired to steal this holo cube that had Vader's past, like him as Anakin and everything he did, and all his information. And Boba Fett was hired to do it, and so Boba Fett steals it from Vader's temple. Vader chases him around the surface of Mustafar, and so he has Vader pretty matched like in fighting and whatnot. But Vader is like Vader's about to win, and Boba Fett throws the holocube off of a cliff, and so Vader goes to force hold the holocube in place, and Boba Fett escapes. But
Dang.
yeah, like he stood his own against Vader, and then a blind Han Solo's like, where does this axe go?
I mean, you gotta realize the luck of Han.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Han is so
Those
lucky.
dice are some lucky.
Bird's not wrong though. Look, I mean, Han Solo has amazing luck.
Yeah,
Those dice, maybe magic.
perhaps in fact ancient Jedi artifacts, those dice, maybe.
Perhaps, you know.
Who knows? But his luck is incredible. Also, in an expanded universe of Star Wars, Boba Fett does escape.
Yeah, I do like that he does, and he's in the Mandalorian. Like he's confirmed he's going to be in the Mandalorian. So he does escape, like canon wise, but still, I think that him being knocked out like that is just it's upsetting. But
I mean,
Also, did
you
you
gotta
guys realize
realize.
that Boba Fett's rifle changes between the two movies?
yeah, look, he lost it,
Episode
and he's just like,
Episode 5, he has his normal gun that he carries around tip of it's just a really thin barrel, and then in episode 6, it becomes this like big, ripped cylinder around it, and it looks bigger. And then you just like look at it and just like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Does anyone know who plays Boba Fett?
So who's gonna play him? You know the guy who played Jango Fett in the prequels? That's who's gonna play him in The Mandalorian.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
So.
you know what I'm ready for? I'm ready for the Obi-Wan series to come out.
Oh yes.
They got
Yes.
Ian McGuire to come back to Obi-Wan, and it's
Yeah. I mean, all I can say is, it's gonna be great.
they also get 'cause I didn't realize it because I missed it prequels. In episode 3, Yoda goes, on like revive themselves using the Force, and then Obi-Wan goes, Qui-Gon, and he goes, yes, go find him. And so you also know Qui-Gon also is gonna come back.
Oh yeah.
Qui-Gon, I guess, was overpowered in the Force, even though they don't show it that much.
Yeah, that's the reason. Qui-Gon was the reason Darth Sidious didn't enact his plan sooner. Was because Qui-Gon was one of the Jedi who knew how to just come back. And so, yeah, I read a whole thing about it. How Darth Sidious's plan was going to come in sooner, but because Qui-Gon was still there and Qui-Gon had just found the chosen one, yeah.
What about Mace Windu though?
That is also true.
He was there for like a little bit and then died because
Have you guys seen the
Darth
theories
Maul.
that Snoke was Mace?
Yeah, I saw that, but I, I think it's good that they debunked it and whatnot, because you see Snoke as just a bunch of clones. Um, because I liked Mace's character. I didn't want to see him like, oh, he's actually now a Sith Lord. Like, nah. I think Mace, like when you read about Mace and everything that like he does, you can definitely tell that if he was to like get thrown out a window and still survive and whatnot, you know he'd still be a Jedi and that he'd still be like, yup, time to fight the Sith.
Up.
Oh, he's
Oh, he's
back.
back. Are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I accidentally clicked the button. Bummer.
Dang up, oof.
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 All right. Yeah. I think that we've been talking for like an hour, 15 minutes. I think we could finish up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrapping up the episode. I guess first episode of this.
Yep. We've we might rename it, but for now, thank you guys for listening to the School's Out podcast. In this podcast, school is always out. Leave your stress at the door. Listen to three nerds talk about Star Wars theories and video games and whatnot. This has been your host, Ethan Butler.
I've been
And
Xander Corkins. Also, by the way, we may have some guests appear on this podcast.
yes, random people I know. Woo!
And I am your also a co-host, Jared. Like,
Yep. Thank you all for watching and listening. And we'll catch you next week for our next episode.